The second season of The Mandalorian won't be returning until later this year. I would guess a November premiere just like Season 1. But in the meantime, I figure the series brought in a handful of new Mandalorian fans that might want to learn more about the culture, and there are quite a few stories available on Disney Plus right now that'll fill you in. So today I'm going to give you a watch list for Mandalorian-centric episodes of The Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels to help you get your Mandalorian fix. This is the way. The first arc featuring Mandalore in the Clone Wars begins with Season 2, Episode 12, The Mandalore Plot, and continues through Episodes 13 and 14 with Voyage of Temptation and Duchess of Mandalore. These episodes serve as an interesting introduction to the culture because it served up a lot of new ideas to even longtime Star Wars fans. You're going to see that the Mandalorian people of the Clone Wars are very different than what we see in The Mandalorian. Most of the people of Mandalore were pacifist at this point, neutral in the Clone Wars, and had abandoned the way of the warrior. Everyone except for an extremist group named Death Watch, who made an appearance in the final episode of The Mandalorian. The Mandalore plot also gave us our first look at the darksaber, which we also got to see for the first time in live action. There are a lot of important Mandalorian elements in these 3 episodes, but it's also got a lot of great character development for Obi-Wan and one of Anakin's most compelling moments in the entire series. Moving on to the next arc, we have Corruption and the Academy, episodes 5 and 6 in the 3rd season of The Clone Wars. I wouldn't consider these 2 stories to be as important to understanding Mandalorian people, but they do have a lot to say about governing bodies and how corrupt they can become, especially during times of crisis. If you just want some more history behind the Mandalorian people, I wouldn't call them necessary, but they're good episodes. So let's jump ahead to Season 4, Episode 14, A Friend in Need. This is a one-off episode following Death Watch again, which means it's full of great action. It features the return of the leader of their group, Pre Vizsla, voiced by Jon Favreau, who serves as the series creator for The Mandalorian and played Paz Vizsla in the show. But it also introduces Bo-Katan, which I am hoping more than anything to see show up in live-action form. Regardless of the future, this is just a fun and exciting episode. And the final Mandalorian arc of the Clone Wars, for now at least, is in Season 5, beginning with Episode 14, titled Eminence, and continuing in the following 2 episodes, Shades of Reason and The Lawless. The Lawless is probably my favorite episode of the series, but the entire arc is insanely cool. We get to learn a lot more about Death Watch, Pre Vizsla, and Bo-Katan as they team up with Maul to conquer Mandalore and bring it back to its warrior roots. Sprinkled throughout are great bits of lore on the planet's history, and we learn more about the darksaber as it passes into Maul's hands. Bo-Katan gets a lot to do as well, and the Lawless is one of the chief reasons I so desperately want to see her appear again. I'm trying to talk vaguely about all these episodes because they're great and offer up a lot of twists and turns. If this arc doesn't convince you to watch all of the Clone Wars, nothing will. I'm about to move on to Star Wars Rebels, but I need to point out that more Mandalorian episodes are coming out soon on Disney+. It's been confirmed that the Siege of Mandalore will be the last arc, finally giving us the series finale of the show as it was originally envisioned. We'll see Ahsoka team up with Bo-Katan as they lead Mandalorians and clones against Maul to retake the planet. I have to imagine once the season finally releases, these 4 episodes will also be must-watches for any Mandalorian fans. But in the meantime, Star Wars Rebels offers up 4 more Mandalorian-centric stories. Technically, the entire series has a Mandalorian as a main character, but I'm going to focus on the stories that really tell us about Mandalorian culture and history. And yet, the first episode I'm going to talk about doesn't really do that. Season 3, Episode 10, Visions and Voices, is more about Maul, but it's important to see how the darksaber finally came back into Mandalorian hands. Season 3, Episode 15, Trials of the Darksaber, is one of the best episodes of the entire series. Not only is the story emotional and important for Sabine, the Mandalorian member of the crew, but there are so many fun facts sprinkled throughout. There's a really great history lesson on the darksaber that introduces us to the first and so far only known Mandalorian Jedi, which tells us the symbolic importance of the weapon. If you want to know why it's a big deal Moff Gideon is holding the darksaber and why Din Djarin will probably not be too happy about it, watch Trials of the Darksaber. The following episode, Season 3, Episode 16, titled Legacy of Mandalore, brings Sabine back to her family. This time around, we learn a lot about how Mandalorian space is divided up into houses and clans. It reminds me a lot of Westeros, where there are larger ruling houses who then have clans that are loyal to them. For example, Sabine Wren is part of Clan Wren, loyal to House Vizsla. That gets expanded upon in The Mandalorian, as Din becomes a clan of 2 with Baby Yoda. I doubt he has any house to be loyal to, and it also sounds like there might not be any major houses left at that point. And we can start to figure out why in the Season 4 premiere Heroes of Mandalore. With the darksaber and a fighting force, Sabine leads an attack against the Empire on Mandalore, where they are soon met by Bo-Katan. Together they begin to prove that victory over the Empire is possible. Sabine passes the darksaber on to Bo-Katan to lead any Mandalorian willing to fight for their home, and everything ends on a very hopeful note. Unfortunately, The Mandalorian seems to hint that the fight does not go well at all. The darksaber is in the hands of Moff Gideon, and the Mandalorian people are hiding in sewers, barely able to survive. We don't know the full story yet, but I imagine all will be told in time. And those are all the Mandalorian-centric stories you can watch on Disney+, and I'll also throw in one final reading recommendation, the Son of Dathomir Comic. Again, it's more about Maul, but I think it'll give the Siege of Mandalore arc some good context when it arrives, especially considering where we last saw Maul at the end of The Lawless. But hopefully that gives some of you a reason to start watching The Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels. Let me know your favorite Mandalorian stories in the comments. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and consider checking out our Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.